there. I'm like, oh.
But you hear what Twitter just did, right?
What? They did something simpler?
They just created a new platform called Spaces.
Oh, I
They'll be
can't keep
beta, they'll be beta testing Spaces, and so they already got the people. They already got a lot of the opinionated heads in on Twitter. So I'm sure it's going to be some competition for Clubhouse.
I can't keep up. I can't even.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not the one like I'm not really a social media guy like that. To be commenting, and I just never been able to do that.
Well, the day will come. I see we got a few people in the group.
Hey, what's up, y'all? How y'all doing? Happy Monday.
Hi, Kendra. Hi, Claudette. We are now live in the Facebook group too. I want to say thank you so much for joining us again for another great Money Monday. And I think every week it gets better and better. We've had some great conversations, some powerful kind of scenarios in terms of how you can grow your wealth, really and truly, as we're looking at ways to do things that are simple enough for anybody and everybody to do as you're growing and strengthening your ability to have financial independence in whatever capacity that means to you. So today we have another great speaker. We have Kiley Summers, an entrepreneur and champion for equity and inclusion for Black and Brown founders. That's us. He himself is the founder of SpenDebt, a financial technology company whose mission is to save 1 million people from financial fatalities every time they swipe their debit card or have a banking transaction. 1 million people. And we got about 2,200 here.
Come on. Hey, one at a time.
So you got to come up with the rest. SpenDebt's app launched in 2018 while raising over $250,000 through many pitch competitions and several accelerator investments, and earned Capital One as their payment processor. So a very big name. To date, SpenDebt has helped consumers pay off credit cards, student loans, auto loans, medical debt, and the like, averaging nearly $80 per month per user. So I know we're always talking about debt. Student loans are always top of mind. So many other things. And sometimes it's bad decisions that we've made in the past. Sometimes it's things we've had to lean on. So we know that debt exists. And what we want to be able to do is look at things that we can do and technology that exists today to make it easy for those everyday simple things that we're doing. So you don't necessarily have to go completely minimalist and cut off, they say, stop getting Starbucks coffee and all these kind of things. No, you can still enjoy some things within life and still make some decisions that'll get you to where you're going in terms of your financial goals. So without further ado, tell us a little bit about what you have and how we can get some value.
Oh man, pleasure to be here, Ms. Robinson. Thank you for allowing me to share with you guys this evening. Hello to the people that are watching. Again, my name is Kiley Summers, and she had an extra read of the bio, so I'm appreciative of her introduction. But it's simply as she put, we want to help people pay off debt every time they swipe their debit card or have a banking transaction. And I'll tell you how we got here. I think that's important to understand the backstory, because just like many people across this country, across the world, over 300 million people in consumer debt. And at one point in time, that was my wife and I. We had over 140 plus $1,000 of consumer debt, y'all. We had the credit cards maxed out. We had the student loans. We had the auto loans and a lot of other stuff. And we began to think about how we grew up and realized that, hey, we didn't want to continue that lifestyle for, our generation. And so we made we drew a line in the sand and say, you know what, we got to fix this. And if not, we can impact, generations to come, our kids. And so we became, we started working on our debt, and it ended up becoming debt free after 7.5 years. It took some time, y'all. We didn't get in debt overnight. It's going to take time to get out of debt. And that was just our story. We see some people getting out in 2 years, 18 months, whatever it is. But that's our story. It took us 7.5 years. And we made some mistakes along the way. We fell back into the trap, but, we eventually became debt free. And so after becoming debt free, God placed this idea of helping helping people spend money and pay off debt at the same time. And we just really wanted to help other people, Rosalind, and that's how SpenDebt was going. And so once we became debt free, we started telling family and friends about our journey, and we realized it was just others suffering. It was like, man, how can we help them go out to eat and yet they still paying off debt, or travel and they still paying off debt, right? And so that was the beginning of SpenDebt, and we've been helping people since.
And so tell us a little bit about, so they're swiping their card, they're going out to eat,
How it
and
works.
and so is it, I think I can't remember what bank did it, the roundup, or
Yep.
what does that look like? How are they structuring this so they can figure out how these transactions are going to equate to them eliminating
Yep.
$140,000 of debt?
Yeah. So in essence, we were our first customer. We did it without the platform, but now that we have the platform in place, how does it work? SpenDebt allows you to link the bank account you want to pay from. So if I have a Bank of America checkings account, you can link it. Then we ask you to tell us the debt account you want to pay. So you can pay literally anything that you want. So let's say you want to pay your Sally Mae student loan. Then we ask you to define the micropayment. For the record, we do not use roundups. We're not against roundups, but we don't use roundups. We allow you to define what you're going to add per transaction that you have. So let's call it $1 for today's example. And then after that, you just begin spending. And so let's say you want to go buy your favorite latte or cup of coffee from Starbucks. It's $5. Automatically, that $1 added to that transaction. $5 will go towards Starbucks. $1 will go towards their student loan debt. And what we do is over the course of a month, we aggregate all of your transactions and we send a one-time payment on your behalf. That is how you aggressively pay down your debt. And we hope that you will continue paying your minimum balance and allow SpenDebt to be the extra that you add on top of that to help accelerate their payments. And you will really begin to see the significance of adding extra to the debt that you're trying to pay off. So that's how it works in a nutshell, Ms. Roslyn.
Now, so of course we can pay towards student loans, credit cards. Tell me some other things that we can put this towards, because I know some people have big balances, but then there are some people that hopefully have smaller balances. So things that are a lot closer to being paid off. What are some of their options in terms of things that they can use this for to pay off?
Yep. So that's the thing. We don't give you an option for us to tell you. You tell us what you want to pay. So we ask you for the company name that you're going to pay off, the account number, and the payment address. Wherever you have debt, we can pay it. So if it's that medical debt that you have, if it's the judgment that you have, if it's the we were paying somebody's a credit card to one of her favorite stores. I can't think of the Lane Bryant or something. We paying the Lane Bryant bill. We can pay anything. You tell us, and we'll help you pay it down using our platform. That's it. That's really, so we don't give you options. We allow you to tell us what you want to pay. So anything, literally.
So that's super simple. And then, so when something is paid off, do they have to then tell you turn off student loan, turn on car note, whatever that might be?
That's definitely a good question. So on our platform, yes, you can set what that balance is. So let's say I have a $500 balance with my MasterCard credit card. You can put in on our dashboard. We allow you to put in what your remaining balance is, and we ask you to tell us what your minimum payment is. So let's say you spend $100 a month, and your overall balance is $500. What we do is we aggregate that $100 plus whatever you spend with SpenDebt. And so it may sound like a huge math equation that I'm giving you, but the purpose of that is we want to work in tandem to what you're doing outside of SpenDebt. And so you can begin to see when you are going to pay that debt down. And then you can make the forecast, if you will, to say, you know what, I'll be done with this in 2 months, or I'll be done with this in 3 months. And at that point, hey, you can sign up another debt. Take down the credit card and put, the auto loan up, or take down that one and put the mortgage up, right? Whatever you want to pay. And so on our dashboard, we really give you historic view on how you perform it month to month. You can see how many transactions you've had. You can see the balance. You can set your micropayment. You can change it at any time. You can set a budget. So let's say I don't want to spend up more than $100 a month, using SpenDebt. It'll stop at $100 in a month. We really give you control using our platform. So excellent question.
And I think that's big. Like you said, it doesn't matter. And you can say, I only have an extra $50. Well, I'm
Exactly.
going to swipe this card 50 times. That's it.
It stopped. Yep, that's right. That's
And
right.
Catherine asks a good question. She says, is there a fee associated with your services?
But of course, we are a business. I would love to offer this for free. And in fact, we give you 1 month free. So you should sign up. You definitely should sign up. We give you 1 month free. The first month is on us. We want you to try it because at the end of that, we want to add value to people. And within that month, you can see whether or not this works for you. If it's something for you. And if it's not, that's okay too. But I'm telling you, when you can start to make those small wins and you start to see you chip down or chip away that like it really was like, you know what? I want to stay on this journey because it began to feel good because you free up some of the other money to do whatever you want with it, whether you want to save or whether you want to, put away, whatever you want to do with it, you have an extra income. And that's really, what becoming, financially free is all about, is living life on your terms and not being a slave to the things that we have bought or the things that or the people that we owe. So good question.
Now, one thing too, can you have multiple goals at the same time? So can I pay one credit card and another credit card and you split whatever the dollar, $2, what have you per transaction?
We're working on that. We have that as a list of features to roll out. And I need to say, we do charge $3.99 per month. I didn't give what we charge per month. But back to the features, we don't have that feature available today. Right now it's one-to-one, so we have one bank account paying towards one consumer debt.
And then when we think about some of the success stories, so I know you're reaching towards your $1 million goal. You'll be there in no time, or million person goal.
Million people goal. Yeah, there you go.
And those people are going to have $1 million. And so it's working towards that goal. Can you share some of the success stories? I know when we talked, you talked about everything from like judgments and, stuff happens. I know you talked about student loans, which everybody wants to get that behind them, but can you share maybe some success stories that clients have shared with you?
We've had a young lady, she's probably one of our first 5 customers. She started paying her auto loan. She's paying her GM Financial auto loan in the course of, 18, 19 months. She paid her car off. And it was working with her lifestyle, how she was spending. She was like, man, can I sign another debt up? She then signed up a student loan, and now she's on her credit card. So she went from paying her auto loan off faster to then paying the student loan. Now she's working down a credit card. We had another gentleman. He was very aggressive. He started paying his student loan. He was averaging close to $280 a month in transaction paying, additionally towards his debt. He paid off 2 small student loans, and now he's working off one of his credit cards. And so these are some of the success stories, and we're watching real people achieve their level of financial freedom. And then it's been others along the way that, credit cards and student loans have been the 1 or 2 debts that we really focus in paying off for folks. And again, we can pay anything, but these will just been the things that they paid. And so we're just excited to partner along those journeys and paths, so people can realize a better financial future and a better financial health score.
Now, I know when we talked previously, you said this wasn't available, but I did want to bring this up because this was something I was excited about too. So, of course, everybody's going to be like the young lady who paid off her car, her student loan, her credit cards, and then you're like, I don't have any more debt. Now what next? And so you talked a little bit about, well, since you're taking this money and putting it somewhere else, is there the option to take this money and to put it in an IRA or put it into some type of savings or brokerage account or what have you? So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So the product is not available today. However, it is coming very soon. So, everybody, when you say that, may be thinking about, oh, Acorns already do that. And Acorns is a good platform. I'm not going to talk against it. But what happens, though, you only can invest in Acorns with your roundups. But you may have a brokerage account with Fidelity or with Northwestern Mutual or Edward Jones, right? Using our platform, we will be able to send money to those places. So you won't have to create another brokerage account. You won't have to create another account to manage, right? You will be able to send money to where you already have an account. And so that will be the tool that we'll be releasing hopefully within the next month, at the top of January. And so they give people the ability to do that. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to give folks the fresh off the press information in terms of how we'll be able to service folks that want to put towards the 529, the IRAs, or what have you. Saving and investing will be made available soon.
I think that's huge. And of course, since you get the 1 month free and that's coming in a month, y'all go ahead and attack some debt, and then you can pivot from the debt
Boom,
to
that's
get
it.
your retirement, get your emergency fund together, all of those things. So hopefully you're signing up now, getting your 1 month free. Are there things that maybe are limitations? Maybe things that you've seen that maybe don't work as much, or are there mistakes that people make too? Because I think sometimes people get like super aggressive and they're like $10 per transaction, and they don't realize how many transactions they're doing in a month. Those kind of things.
Man, yes, and yes. Some people don't realize how much they swipe their cards or how many transactions flowing through that bank account. And we've had people like be very aggressive. Right now, we average $1. There's like $1.80, something like $1.80, $1.90 for the micropayment. So that's what they add per transaction. But some people have a $5 micropayment, and they'll be started there, but then they realize, like, you know what? I can't afford this. Let me bag this thing down to maybe $1. Right? And that's okay. And that's why we give the control to the consumer, because we want you to be able to massage it to fit your lifestyle. Right. And that's important. We, like you said in the beginning, you don't want to, have to just cold turkey. I got to stop doing this, because that's unrealistic. You can't live a minimum lifestyle, because we are human. We want, right? You have to make those trade-offs, and we give you that control to manage, how much you want to put on per transaction, and we'll allow you to budget it. So you get to check and balance it out using our platform. But we've seen some people be very aggressive and turn that thing down a little bit. And then we've seen some, start off small and they turn it back up. So yeah.
Now, one thing in terms of the minimum. So is the minimum $1? Is the minimum 50 cents per transaction? What is that minimum? I know you said we can budget and say no more than 50.
Yeah.
So what was that
50 cents
per transaction?
So 50 cents is the minimum that you can add per transaction. And then the budget could be whatever. It could be whatever you want, whether it's $10, $50, $100, $500. The budget, you got leniency, but the minimum that you can add per transaction is 50 cents. And believe it or not, somebody who had a 1 year like this, she was adding, just like $7 to $10 a month. But that was what she had factored into her budget. All right. And she was working it down. Every little bit extra helps, believe it or not. Somebody say, well, that's a bad business decision. Well, you just don't know. She may not be disciplined enough to add the extra $7 on her home, but now she's using our platform to do that.
But that's huge, because once you get used to $7 or $10, then you can get used to $15 or $20. And over the course of that year, it starts with just one action, something small. Yep. So if you try it out for that 50 cents per transaction and say, this wasn't so bad, maybe I could go up to $1. Now, Catherine asks, is this per transaction, like per swipe, or does it also include things like automatic drafts? So like if your car payment comes out auto draft, would it also do that $1 or $2, what have you, for that transaction?
So yeah, so for any banking transaction that goes through, so let's say you have your auto draft, like she said, the car loan, it may come out $100, $1 will be added to the transactions. Or you swipe your card at Starbucks, that $5 for that coffee, $1 will come out. So anything that comes out of that bank account that's linked will be, the micropayment will be added to that transaction.
And see, that's huge. All those small transactions, but that also means, the $400 transaction, that's just $401.
Boom. Exactly.
And so you did say that's a one time a month. So you're pulling that $1 each and every transaction, and you're going to hold it until 31st or the first of the next month or whatever, and then make that payment. Is that correct?
That is correct. And you have a dashboard. So you and I operate blindly. We're very transparent in what we do. We have a dashboard that really shows you. We do a side by side with the transactions that you have in your bank account, side by side with the micropayments that we have, right? And we give you the visibility of everything. And that's our whole goal. We want to help people. It's not to shade people, not to do. We want to help you achieve that. And so you get a visual on everything that's happening. And to your point, every month we make that transaction one time, one lump sum on your behalf.
Do you have any idea about the average debt that your clients are holding? I mean, you may not necessarily know the balance since you're just paying a payment towards it.
Yeah. So we don't, and we're working on some things to aggregate that data. I mean, the average person has almost $6,000 in credit card debt, right? The average student's graduating with almost $40,000 in student loan debt. And so, from that perspective, obviously that's data that's put out in the marketplace, but we don't have it, specific to our platform. And we're working on some tactics to aggregate, because we've gotten this question of quite a few, obviously, for partners and investors, and they just want to know that. That's good data to have, but hopefully we'll have some data to share.
And so Dr. April says, can you select only one debt at a time, or can you kind of spread those debts around different items that you have?
One debt at a time for now. Stay tuned, and hopefully in the near future we have some features that will allow you to kind of spread out and be able to set a percent. You want 50% to go here, 50% to go there, but for right now, it's just one debt at a time.
That's still a good way to chop it down.
Yes.
Yes. Focus
yes.
on one.
And I would say this, like in a good tactic that I believe really works, and it worked for us, is the snowball method. I'm not sure if you guys ever, I'm sure you probably have talked about it, but the snowball method allows you to stack your debts from the smallest down to the largest debt, and you pay the minimum, guys. Pay the minimum on the second debt down to the last one, and every bit of extra you pay on that top debt, right? That means you're going to create this momentum on that first debt, and so that's where SpenDebt really can help you, get that momentum, because when you pay off that first one, you can't take it in pocket and go spend all that money and that extra money you have now. Now just apply it to that second one. And so what happens is you start to create this bucket of money that really helps accelerate your payoffs of all the debt that you may have. And if you don't believe me, just try. I dare you to try it, because it works. It works. And some people look at the interest rate versus the amount. That's fine too. But I would say look at the smallest debt first, because it just quickly adds up, and you will start to see you just start to pay out those little nagging debts that you've been trying to get rid of for a while.
And that's huge, because if you start with that $1 on the first, then by the time you get to your second debt, you could definitely do $2, $3, $4, because you've already freed up that one debt. And so it'll really that second debt will go away much quicker than the first one. And so that's a really big deal. One thing I wanted to ask you a little bit about, because we definitely have some business owners that are in different stages of their business, and I know you've raised capital in a few different ways. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Whew, it's a journey. Let's just say that I gotta gather my thoughts. Right? I mean, we read. Come on, I need more than that. Look, we see the headlines, right? We know how Black founders are being or have been left out of the conversation, right? I think society is catching up. Corporations are starting to understand that diversity matters, specifically Black people matter. I mean, Biden, as the new president elect, he's coming in making a statement, understanding to include us, and it trickles down to entrepreneurship and founders. Going to raise capital is very tough, because we have a average net worth of almost $0 or negative dollars, right? And so we don't have that rich uncle to get that check from as an angel investor. And so our journey for raising capital has been leveraging a lot of grants, going in and putting our name in the hat in pitch competitions. I can't tell you how many. I probably applied for over 100 plus pitch competitions. I got in a handful. We've won over $150,000+ in pitch competitions, $50,000 in grants, $50,000+ in grants, and then we have another accelerator, accelerated investment where we had to go spend 12 weeks with them, and they injected a total of $100,000, but 50 was cash. But that's how we raise capital, and it takes a lot of energy from 2016 when the idea came to now. We essentially bootstrap and leverage pitch competitions, grants, and incubators and accelerators to raise our capital. We're now talking to VCs, and we've talked to angels in the past, but they want security on their money, which sounds odd when you're taking a risk. How can you, say you want to take a risk, but you want a sure thing? And nothing in entrepreneurship is a sure thing. And so the landscape is changing a bit. So I'm hopeful that checks will start to be, written at the friends and family round for people that look like us.
I love it. Now, tell us a little bit about pitch competitions. I don't know if everybody is familiar with that, what that means as you're going out. I think what we probably are most familiar with is like a Shark Tank, and you're like, hey, sharks, let me tell you a little bit about my product. Tell us what they should expect if they get to the point of a pitch competition.
Woo! Yeah. So definitely familiarize yourself with Shark Tank. I think it is a phenomenal show. You get to learn from some of the best entrepreneurs, in the world, and investors in the world. And in a pitch competition, like obviously you got competitors like founders should be at similar stages. Some may be a little bit ahead of you, some may be a little bit behind you, but mostly close to kind of where your company is or where you are in the stage of your business. But they really want to know, what problem are you solving? So, if you're making a better mousetrap when it comes to a cell phone case, or you making the latest and greatest new cookie that has no milk, no sugar, whatever, right? Whatever problem you're solving, they want to know that. And what is the solution? What is the innovation? And the biggest thing, being able to articulate what the value proposition is. That's really why you exist, the bane of your existence, and just communicating that in a simple, succinct manner. That typically wins. Less is always more, believe it or not. Sometimes we feel like we have to over-explain and give people all the details, but less is more. And so just being able to walk people through the problem, solution, whatever innovation that's added to it, and then how you're going to acquire customers, kind of your marketing strategy. And then the last piece is how you make money, right? At the end of the day, these are, a business, and you have to be able to create value for investors or people who are going to inject capital in you. And so being able to articulate how you make money is so key. And they will always, always ask about your business model. And then what's your exit strategy paired with your business model? Like, are you planning to sell this thing in 3 to 5 years? Do you want to go IPO? And so, those are some heavy terms, and not all businesses will get acquired, or not all businesses will go IPO. But whatever you want to do, it could be a lifestyle business. Hey, I just want to make enough money to just pay my mortgage, travel every now and again, put some money in the bank. That may be it. But pitch competitions just gives you the flexibility to pitch for equity-free money, meaning it's a grant, and they give you to help grow and develop your business.
Now, what's your goal? Are we looking to go IPO? Are we looking to bring in some investors? What is that goal when they ask you that question?
Yeah, so my goal, my personal goal, I would love to grow a $100 million business over the next 5 years. That's my goal. Right, you're entertain things as you go along, but yes, we've created strategies to project that. Will we get there? That's to be determined. We're definitely working against it. I tell you that. But that's our goal. Just being transparent and honest. Yeah.
We want to see more Black billionaires. So yes, the time is coming. We're gonna say we do him win.
yes. Come on. Maybe I can come back and write some checks to the people in the group, right? Maybe invest. Yes.
You can have your Oprah money, your Oprah moment, where it's like you get a car.
But can I get some equity though? I need that equity. I need some. But yeah, indeed, that's the goal. That's definitely the goal.
Now, tell us a little bit. I know you've had an entrepreneurial past. Any other ventures that you've had that have gone really well? Maybe some lessons learned along the way as well?
Uh, I think early on. So, quick story. I lost my dad in 2014 to a massive stroke, and I'm an engineer by degree, and so after that, the top of 2015, I told my wife, "Look, I'm ready to quit corporate. I'm ready to go do something totally different." And so, I quit my job in May of that year, and I decided I'm going to start an in-home healthcare business. I have no medical background. I'm not a doctor, no nurse, none of that. But I just really wanted to help people. That was my whole goal. And as we were doing that, SpenDebt was there because we became debt free. And my wife was like, "Look, you got to choose between SpenDebt and the home healthcare business." And ultimately, we chose SpenDebt. Um, I don't know if it's necessarily any business ventures. All I will say is just having the ability to really put your all into the one thing that you have and give it your best shot. You never know what it may turn into. And that was one of the lessons that I got. I can look back now and say, wow, I'm glad my wife and I had a discussion about trying to do two things at once. It's incredibly hard. And so just if you can focus, I've since started, and partnered with some other things, but it's really being able to focus on that one thing. And the biggest thing that I probably won't ever do, I won't say never because you never say never, but doing it alone. Our community always believes, and I gotta be the only one to do this, and really we just creating a job for ourselves. But how do you partner with people? How do you partner? How do you share ideas? How do you share innovation? If you got the best barbecue sauce, right? I got the best meat. Why don't we go in business together, right? And make the best barbecue business versus trying to compete with one another. It was a man that I was on a panel some years back, and he talked about if you go into Walmart, you'll find over 100 plus different barbecue sauces on the shelf, right? And why? Our community's got to really begin to think about partnership. And so that's to be one of the lasting things I'll say about the lessons learned is it's hard to drive and run a business and grow a business by yourself. Solopreneur it's a badge of honor, but it's a badge of agony and pain and lonesome at times. And so I'm lucky that I had a great support system. My wife is my co-founder, but in the beginning, thought I can do it. It wasn't until I really got her engaged in the business until our business went to the next level. I like to say SpenDebt was good because of me, but it's going to be great because of her. Teamwork makes the dream work. Period.
Black women make businesses run.
Hey, hey, man. When I add my wife to it, that's when yeah, we went to another level. And like my wife is a beast, and so I married the right partner.
So any entrepreneurs out there, if you're trying to figure out how to get your business to the next level, get a Black woman.
I'm saying I co-sign that. Yes, absolutely.
Now, as we come back, one question that we also have, and this is to SpenDebt itself, are there certain banks that you can't partner with? So maybe someone is banking with some of these like community banks or credit unions or so forth. I know you mentioned some of the larger ones and so forth, but if they're with a smaller bank, are you still able to do the link and so forth?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we use a third party to aggregate all of the banks onto our platform, and so it's over 4,000 plus banks on our platform that we have access to. And so if you do not see your bank or do not have your bank available, I would like to know so we can serve it up and see how we can work that bank into our platform. But for the most part, we haven't had many occasions where it was not available. But if that is a challenge for you, I would love to know that so we can see how we can accommodate you. But you should be okay for most banks, and we do have some community credit unions and some community banks or regional banks on the platform.
I love it. Let's see. Do we have any more questions? I don't see any more questions from the ladies. But one more question that I would have in terms of when we start to think about the debt that exists out there, what
Mhm.
types of debt are people probably struggling with the most? So, are you seeing more people target student loans? Are you seeing more people target whether it be medical debt? And those
Mhm.
things pop up. You're like, I don't even remember going to that doctor or something like What are you
Yeah,
seeing more of?
yeah, that's a good question. So, what I would tell you is, people historically they struggle with credit card debt, right? You get sucked into this idea of one just signing up for it. They get us when we don't have a clue about financial education. That's a whole nother story, right? They get us in college or fresh out of college, right? And yeah, I can get this credit card, and we just swipe, 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 swipe. But the other thing is the interest of the credit card. The interest rate kills us. We may start off with a 0% interest rate for 18 months, but for whatever reason, it sits with us. We don't transfer that balance to another 0% interest credit card. We stay there. And that interest just really eat people up. And they end up creating a bigger balance, almost 4 to 6 times more than what the original balance was because of the interest. And they just begin to pay the minimum. Like the minimum, like if you paying just the minimum, it's gonna take you forever and the interest is gonna eat you up. Here's an example. If a credit card balance is $500 maxed out at a 19% interest rate, the minimum payment is $13. If you pay that $13, it'll take you 5 years to pay the credit card off. 5 years. But if you add an additional $30 a month, so let's say you spend $43, you'll pay that $500 credit card off in just over a year. It makes that big of a difference. So
Huge.
interest rates, huge, right? Interest rates are the biggest thing that hurt people, and we typically see it with in the credit card. And then student loans. Everybody, they hoping that Biden ain't gonna forgive the student loans and just like we gonna be good. Let bygones be bygones. I don't know, but I would say don't ignore anything, right? We see that in the medical debt, we see that in judgments, we see that in utilities. Like typically when people are trying to repair their credit, it's because they walked away and then they ignored the debt. And it could be a $5 balance, it could be a $25 balance. Those things become major issues when we don't pay attention to them. And so we've seen some of that as well. But it's really the credit cards, mainly the interest rates, then the student loans, people just ignoring them, and then those other small debts that turn into major problems. That's what we've seen people struggle with.
And so we have someone who submitted a question. So, do you encourage your clients to pay off the smaller debts first? And I know you talked about, yes, using that kind of snowball method. And I really think that kind of helps. And it tags on to the next question that's in the chat. It says, is there a consultation that comes with your service, or do you just automatically pay the amount towards the debt indicated by the client without any discussion?
That's right. So good question. We are just a tool right now. We don't have any services wrapped around financial consultancies, but we do have some partners that we can refer folks to that can help you with that, and they'll do free consultation with you to help you just kind of do a kind of a debt review. If that's something folks are interested in, I'll be more than happy to take it offline. But we don't. We just really want to be a tool and provide a tool to our community because we don't have access to, or we haven't had access to tools, and we know that tools do work.
And I think that's a good point. I know you talked about your dashboards. And so, one, can they see samples or a little bit about what those dashboards look like before signing on?
Yeah, let me see if I can keep talking. I'm gonna see if I can pull one up while we. I'm gonna do a live demo so people can see. Uh,
Like demos.
I'm gonna put myself on the spot, but this is definitely a good question. I have no problems doing that. I just want to make sure everything works before I say go. Um, but these are some excellent questions and questions that people really want to know, and I get it. Finances is that taboo topic that people don't really discuss all the time, and so we're gonna see. Let me
And I know
see.
you talked about the software itself will allow people, will they be able to do like a calculator and say, okay, I have this $1,000 credit card. Should I do this one or this one? And they can play with the numbers and say $1,000 credit card with putting an extra $50 on top of it. it'll be paid off in X amount of time period. So can they do a few of those different simulations to see which one do I want to do, the credit card or the student loans or the car note or what have you?
Good question. We have a calculator on the platform, but we don't have um, kind of that style of calculator. I'm gonna share my screen if you don't mind, and I'm gonna give people a sneak peek on of a look into SpenDebt. So this is my profile, and I play with this thing from time to time, and I make changes. Um, but as you can see, this is the kind of a dashboard view of after you go through linking the bank account, linking the debt account, getting account set up, it's going to take you to this screen. And as you can see here, I have my neighbor's credit union, bank is linked to this account, right? I don't have a balance there, so I haven't accumulated micropayments in this account because I just switched this bank account as we were doing some tests. But my micropayment is 50 cents, so I'm adding 50 cents to every transaction, and then the cap amount is that budget that we talked about, right? So once it hit $25, it will stop. All right, and again, I change my stuff all the time because we're doing a lot of testing. But as you can see here, we give a kind of your SpenDebt impact. You can see how many transactions you've had over the course of the year, right, per month. And see, I had 60 transactions in November, $59.
I was getting their Christmas get ready.
Exactly, right? Right. So we give you the ability to see this, right? And then down here to the left, this is account status. This basically it's a pause or start button, right? You can pause at any given time. It stops the micropayment, but it does not stop. We do still take off the monthly fee. And then the total debt balance, what I was telling you, in my monthly payment, if I'm paying $13 a month towards my credit card, everything extra is going to the principal payment or an additional payment on top of that credit card. And this is what this represents. So every month we take $13 plus whatever my SpenDebt balance is, and we subtract it from here. So that's how you can see you work your balance down. In terms of transactions, we show you the transactions here, just a quick view. I'm going to click on this. I've only had 2 transactions here, but when this loads up, you will see how we give you the side-by-side view on how transactions look if you have a number of transactions. So we did some transfers, as you can see here. So had 2 transactions, one at $1.01, one at $1.02. But my micropayment was 50 cents. So you get to see like what that micropayment was spread up. And this is so critical because sometimes people have transactions in their account like, where did this come from? Why did I have that? We want to make sure that we are transparent in our process and you get to see where those transactions come from. So this is just a quick, view. And if I can quickly go through the link in the bank account, you can link the bank account. You can change it at any time by going to edit. Obviously, we use Plaid to aggregate aggregate our banks. And for the debt account, you can go in and you can literally put anything that you want. As you see, I just got some data in these bubbles, but you tell us the company, you give us the address, phone number, all those things to tell us the debt account you want to pay. This is an old plan that we had at $2.99 with a promo code, but it's just a look. And to a point about a prediction meter, we give the people the ability to look at, hey, I want to do $1. Let me do $1.50, and I think I have about, I have 25 transactions in a month. Well, that equates to $37.50. That's what will be added to your payment if you had your micropayment set at $1.50 for 25 transactions. So that's how it looks, and that's SpenDebt in a nutshell.
Claudette says she likes the colors, so thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Dr. April says, does it update the account in real time? For example, if she's making a payment and then SpenDebt is making payments, will the balance be in real time? And I'm guessing this is the balance that's reflected on like the credit card or what have you.
So nothing is real time. I'll be honest, nothing is real time. And just, I mean, when you see you may have a transaction on a Friday or a Saturday, that won't be reflective until maybe a Monday or a Tuesday from your bank, right? And it's our timing is the same. those payments don't settle until, until the bank it has them settled. So we follow the same time framing of the bank. It'll show pending for a while, and then before that transaction is confirmed. So based on the banking transaction, that's exactly how we work.
So all those
Good question.
weekend pending transactions will hit on Monday,
Yeah,
Tuesday,
yeah,
50
yeah.
cent, 50 cent, 50 cent. So that's definitely one thing. And then one thing to remember too is you're not making these 50% payments to the credit card company. You're waiting until X day of the month,
right.
and you're making a $40 payment to the credit card company. So aggregating into one hit versus small payments as they come in to that credit card company.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And if you have a due date that you want to get it in by, you can set the due date. If it's the 15th of every month or it's the 30th of every month, like we now can kind of customize your payment to make sure that it gets there when you want it to get there.
I think that's huge. And it's
Yeah.
one thing, oftentimes, as we're in the group, there are ladies at different points. And so some people who are just starting out and they're like, I'm in my 20s, I only make so much. I'm trying to make a impact and I don't know where to start. This is a great place to start. It automates. I'm a huge advocate for automating as much of the process as you can, because it's so easy to say, oh, not this month, or just to forget or whatever it may be. And so if you can automate and get into that habit, because if you can get used to an extra $25 or what have you being gone every single month, then it'll only be a few months where it won't be a big deal for $30 to be gone. And then you add another few months and $40 to be gone. And eventually you've eliminated so much debt, which has freed your cash flow and gotten you closer to whatever goal that is. And especially when we talk about next year, when you have the upgrades in place and people are putting their house savings, or they're saying, okay, I want to retire, my early retirement goals, all of those things, and being in a situation where you can automate that process and it's happening without you actually having to do anything.
That's right. That's right.
We do have another question that says, how long have you had the business, and is this offered as an app or is it just purely web-based?
No, great question. So we started this business in 2018. We went to the marketplace with our first product, our first business customer. And we do offer this as an app. It is in the Apple Play Store, Apple iOS Store, and the Google Play Store. So please, you can download the app today. Man, I'm gonna do this. I want people to be able to try it and just get familiar with. I want to help people. So if y'all sign up, y'all want to sign up, and you can send it out to the group. They can use DEBT, DEBT, lowercase. And instead of getting 1 month free, we're gonna give the whole group 3 months free. Our mission is to help people. So look, you download the app. When it asks for the promotion code on the account setup, just put in DEBT, DEBT, lowercase, and you will get 3 months free. Again, we want to help people. Try it. If you don't like it, that's cool. But we want you to begin your journey, and we want to help you.
That's huge. We like free stuff, so make sure y'all sign up.
Come on.
But two, this gives you a great head start, because you'll get used to that 50 cents, that dollar, whatever it is. And when the fee kicks in, you won't even realize it. It won't even be a big deal at all. So we love that. I love a nice promo code. I put that in the chat. So make sure that you all use that promo code and sign up, because one thing about it, I know this time of year, people are like, oh, I got so many obligations and so forth. But this has been a great time for us to either scale back, to spend a little bit more time and evaluate what we're spending money on. So we're right about the top of the year when people start making these unrealistic
resolutions. Yes.
And so it's like, well, why not just say, I'm going to do 50 cents of every transaction, and I'm just going to start with a $20, $25 cap and start there. And in 6 months, evaluate it and see, can I do a little bit more? And go ahead and just make an effort to get to the next place. Claudette dropped in the chat. She said, what a wonderful concept. She just became debt free, but this would have been helpful on your journey. Claudette, don't forget that in
Thank
just
you.
a month,
Yes.
even though you're debt free today, you can automate this process to go into investments or IRAs and
Savings.
so forth too.
Yep.
So you can still continue your journey and still automate that process too. And then of course, if you have, I mean, I have, friends who are just getting started. Yep, Claudette. And remember, you got the promo code, so you get your 3 months.
There you go. And hold on, and just I need to say this too. Like we can pay that a bill. It don't necessarily have to be that. You trying to pay that light bill, that gas bill. We pay. You can use SpenDebt to pay your bills as well. It is not just for debt. We can use to pay bills. I just want to throw that out there just so people know as well.
It's always some bills.
We were talking about going to the mailbox before the call. Right? Bills always in the mailbox.
And so that's good, because once you get to that place, and I know I was sharing with somebody not too long ago, when you talk a little bit about getting to one place and you're like, okay, I've accomplished this goal, I've paid this off, and now what? So you have that short-term celebration, and then the now what. This is a great, okay, pivot to the now what. You never have to stop that process and keep going incrementally. Claudette says even 529 or emergency fund deposits.
That is correct. Yes,
to
ma'am.
get kids through school, so they won't have to worry about student loan debt. So we can get away from that, and the next generation won't be tied down or saddled with the student loan debt or that emergency savings. So when something happens and you're let go or want to leave or whatever it is, you won't have to worry. All these small transactions would have added up to something substantial. So you can say, who cares that I need a whole new set of tires or whatever it might be.
Boom.
Dig into my emergency savings.
That's right. $80. Look, we average $80 per month. So folks want to know what we average per customer. $80 per month. That's an additional $1,000 a year. I don't know about you. I can use an additional $1,000 a year. And so that's what we help people, put to the side or put towards their debt. And so, for Claudette or those that are looking to save in the near future, you'll be able to put that aside to go into that 529 plan. And that interest adds up fast.
See, and looks like we're going to have you back, because Dr. April talks a little bit about being very interested in the investment side, because she's working with clients, helping them with their investment accounts and so forth. So we'll have you back to talk a little bit about kind of where that money is going. And Dr. April, I'm sure you're familiar with people saying, I can't save more. I can't find it. And all these small things add up, because if you think about it, $50 a month is $600 a year. So that's pretty substantial when you say someone who had zero in savings. And I think the stat is most people couldn't come up with $400 for an emergency. So if you can come up with $50 a month, already you're better than most people by having something out there and available from an emergency perspective. So that's huge.
And the likelihood of kids going off to college just because they have a savings account increases significantly within our community. It's like a 2 to 4 times likely to go off to college just by having a savings account. So just imagine that a kid, having a savings account. So that 529 plan that she mentioned, just by having it, in a family, that increases the likelihood of a kid going off to college.
And think about the people who didn't finish college, and typically money is the number one reason. And so even if it's a small amount and you're able to help with books, I remember being in school and I'm just like, this book costs what? I remember borrowing the book. I was like, I can't afford this book at all. And I borrowed a book for an entire semester and picked up the book around midnight and had to return it before class at 8 o'clock in the morning. So please don't have your kids and loved ones in that same foolish situation, because they didn't want to spend $150 on a book. So you might think that's a small transaction, but for a starving student like myself, I could have studied during normal hours.
Yes.
Well, this is
Indeed.
great. Let me see. Do we have any other questions? So, LaDonna is downloading now. So she said, "What's the name of the app?" So we got that in there. So don't forget, use DEBT in the promo code lowercase DEBT, and you get 3 months for free. So make sure you take advantage of that. And I would love, love, love. I always say, if you are using something, and especially when it's us, make sure that you give feedback. So if you're in the App Store, give them the 5 stars.
Please.
But also, if you have feedback on the app, things that you want to see, things that you wish that were there, maybe you were like, well, why is it this way and not that way? Please send that information directly to him, versus, all the bad feedback that we throw out on the internet and so forth. So spread it to your friends.
Spare brother. Spare brother.
Share that feedback so we can be the best out there as well. And so I'll say, are there any closing questions? And while we're waiting on any kind of final questions and remarks from everyone, you give us a little bit of closing remarks and so forth, and share anything that you want us to be able to take away.
Yeah. So, one, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And I just, hope that everybody enjoy the holiday season, staying safe. But the lasting thoughts is, let's go back to a point I made earlier. You didn't get into your financial situation overnight. And so don't expect to come out of it overnight. It takes time to work that thing off. But in that process, it's going to strengthen you. It's going to make you a better person. And you'll become wiser. And a wise man once said that you have to release the guilt of what happened in the past, and you have to accept the grace and move forward. And so don't feel guilty about where you are, or feel guilty about what you don't have, because you can change that. And we like to say, we help people one micropayment at a time. Let us partner with you. Let us help you. And I'm prayerful that everybody's situation will change. And we just want to be a small part of that change. Thank you, Robin, for having me. I truly appreciate it. This has been a good, fantastic conversation. We just want to help and bless people.
I want to thank you so much. I want to thank you not only for joining us, thank you so much for the promo code. I don't know anybody who doesn't like anything free. So that's a big thing. But I want to thank you for your foresight to even create this opportunity. And so many people are like, what is 50 cents? It's huge once you start to add it up. And these small transactions make a big deal. I know small transactions make a big deal when they're coming out of your account, but they can really make a big deal when you're automating that to get towards that goal. And so we always talk about these small things that you can do, small changes that you can do. And if you got big money, go ahead and make it $10 per transaction, whatever that might be. But know that there are tools out there to help you get to that next step. And so go ahead, try it out for these first 30 days and kick out some debt. And then after that, go ahead and start moving some money into some investments. We know that we hold the least amount in terms of investments, but those stats, when we talk about our community and how on average our net worth is basically nothing. We, one step at a time, one person at a time, as you're sharing this information, go ahead and share the promo code with your friends and so forth. You can get to the point where when this next statistic comes out about us, our net worth might not be 7 figures, but at least it'll be 5 figures. And then we'll get to the point where we're 6 figures, and we can really start to proactively close that gap, because so many of us are hampered by debt that it was a mistake. We didn't know. We made some bad decisions. We talked a little bit about good debt and bad debt, and as student loans, good debt or bad debt, it really depends. But we know we've made some decisions. I remember having credit cards in college and so forth, and swiping for just about any transaction that I could think of. And then you grow up and you learn, and you really start to figure out what's important, and start to really figure out what's the next step in your path. And so let's take control with any tools that we can get our hands on. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. And until next time, we will see you soon. Have a good night.
All right. Bye-bye.